Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Grade 10 Applied Math here with Mr. Stone. All right, so this is the lesson for Activity 5 in Unit 1, and we're going to be looking at lines. So just a couple things about terminology. So this sort of grid that you've seen before is it's called a Cartesian Plane, basically named after a French guy, a French mathematician, philosopher named René Descartes. And it basically is a simple two-dimensional grid that allows us to analyze points, right? Analyze relationships between points. We can do all kinds of things. And you've seen this before, I hope. But what we want to talk about quickly is some of the things on here. So this horizontal axis we can call our x-axis, right? Also horizontal. Sometimes we even call it an independent variable. That'll make more sense later when we start talking about tables of values and how things are related to each other. But that's the horizontal axis, that's x. And the vertical axis we call the y-axis. Again, vertical axis or the dependent variable. Really, we're saying that the y value is dependent on the x, right? So again, this is the x-axis down here, and this is the y-axis. That's the important part that I need you guys to memorize. The way that you can memorize it is think in the alphabet, x comes before y, right? A, B, C, X, Y, and then Z, right? And X comes first, and that's the first thing along. It's the horizontal. That's the first way we learn to walk. We learn to walk before we learn to jump. So we have to first go in the X and then go in the Y. First learn to walk, so that's horizontally, and then we learn to jump, as we were growing up as kids. Okay, so X and Y axis, that's the big part here. Now, if I have this X and Y axis, what it means is I can take a point. I can assign, a point here in space. And that point has an X value. It's how far I had to go over from the origin, from the middle here. I had to go 2 spaces over, right? So it has an X coordinate, we say, of 2. And it also has a Y coordinate of 2. On the X-axis, along the X-axis here, we have a value of 2. And on the Y-axis, we have a value of 4. And we put it together in what we call a coordinate. So this point here has a coordinate of 2, 4. And again, we go X first. That comes first in the alphabet. So our X value is 2. And then we have our Y value of 4. So any point on here, I can pick any point at all. Let's try another one. Let's do another one over here. So this has an X value of 6. I put a bracket, 6. And then it has a Y value of -2. So I put a -2, and we're done. Okay, so we say we have a X coordinate and a Y coordinate. X come first, so we first measure it along the X-axis, how far I've had to go from here. We had to go 6 units that way, and then we had to go -2, so down 2 to get to that point 6, 2. Just keep in mind that there's this other point, as I already said, called the origin, which is at 0, 0. That's our sort of starting point. That's where we measure everything from. That's the beginning of our ruler, let's say. All right, so this really gives us, it's basically like a ruler. It's like 2 crossed rulers. And for using those 2 crossed rulers, right, one horizontally, like a number line left to right, and then a number line up and down, it allows us to make this 2-dimensional area and assign points to it. Okay? So hopefully this is all review, but if not, just remember that X comes first. It's X and then Y. Now what's fun about this is we can take this 2-dimensional plane here and we can put a line on it or a curve or wherever we want. But lines are fun to begin with. We're going to start looking at lines. And then we'll expand to parabolas and other things like that. But when we put a line on here, what's interesting is it crosses these axes, right? It hits them. So we end up with what we call an an X-intercept, right? Intercept meaning it hits it. So this red line hits the X-axis. Remember, this is the X-axis. This was the Y-axis again. So this hits the X-axis at the point 3. And it hits the Y-axis at the point 2. So we can assign coordinates to these points, right? So we have our X intercepts 2 and 3. So this point here at the top, where it hits the y-axis at 2, we can give it a number. We say that its x-coordinate is 0. Notice that the blue dot here is at 0. So we start off with 0. And then a y-coordinate, we had to go up 2 to get there, so we say it's at 2. So this point here, this y-intercept, is 0, 2. That's its coordinates. And again, with the x-intercept, the red line hits the x-intercept here at 3. So we say the x-intercept is 3. Or we can say that it has a coordinate of 3. So we've gone over in the x direction, right? This x direction here, I've gone over 3. And I haven't gone up and down at all. So its y-coordinate is 0. So this is saying over 3, don't go up and down. This one says, don't go left and right, go up 2. Okay, so we can come up with intercepts for a line. And basically that's what our assignment's going to look for. And what we can do now with these intercepts, another way we can look at it is, how do I get from one intercept to the other? How do I get from one point to the other point? So let's say I want to go from my y-intercept. I want to go from here. This is my starting point, and I want to go to here. Now, because this is a Cartesian coordinate system, think of it like a city plan. We can't just walk through buildings. We have to walk along the city blocks. We can only walk left, right, up, and down. So given that sort of street analogy here, how would I get from my starting point to my finishing point? I would first have to go over some units and then down some units, right? So I can't walk in a diagonal. I have to go to the right and then down. And I can say that I have to go right 3. So that's in the positive direction, 3 units. And then I go down 2, or negative 2, or I go in the negative direction in the y direction of 2 units. Right? I mean, this is my y direction again. I shouldn't really get this written down all the time, y and x. This is my y direction, and I'm going down from 2 to 0. And that negative is very important. Okay? So what can I say about this line? Now, because we see that it's going down to the right, everything is going to be always measured to the right. Imagine I'm standing here, and I'm going to the right. I will be going in a downward direction. We say that that has a negative slope. Notice that in my y, it had a negative value, so that's a negative slope. Also, since we know that it's going to the right more than it is up and down, right? 3 is larger than 2, right? I have to go more in this direction. I have to go longer in the x direction, longer in the horizontal direction than I do in the vertical direction. We say that it has a shallow slope. Okay? I know that's a lot. So let's go back here. That's a negative slope, and it's a shallow slope. Okay, it was negative because we went down, and it was shallow because I went over more than I went up or down. Okay? So let's try another one. Okay, so this one has, again, x and y intercepts. In this case, the x-intercept is 1, and the y-intercept now is negative 2. So again, we can assign coordinates. We can say that the y-intercept has a point of 0, right, because it's 0 on the x. We don't go left or right, right? Oops, we don't go left or right, so that's 0. And I go down 2, so that is negative 2. And in the x direction, I go over 1, so it has an x-intercept of 1 and a point of 1, 0. I go over 1 and I don't go up and down. Now again, using our city blocks, I have to go right 1 or positive 1. I go in the x direction, positive 1, the horizontal direction, positive 1, and then I go up 2, which is in the y direction. I go up, so that's positive 2 again. So both positive numbers. And in this case, now if we're going to the right, remember if I was standing here and I'm going to the right, I'm going to be walking up that hill. So we say that is a positive slope. Going up the hill is positive. When in the other example, when I was going down the hill, that was negative. But in this case, notice that I'm going up a lot more than I am going left or right. So because it goes up more than it goes right, we say this is a steep slope. Right? You can see this angle. This would be more than 45 degrees or something. If I had to climb this hill, it'd be steep compared to the other example. Right? So these are my two examples I gave you. Right? This one was negative. If I was standing here, would you love my? I'm the best artist ever. I'm not. I'm going down the hill. Whereas if I was standing here, I'm going up the hill. All right? So that tells me that this is negative, and this one is positive. And this one is shallow. As you can see, I have to go over more than I have to go down. Whereas this one, I have to go up more than I have to go right. So we say it's steep. So in our assignment, that's basically what you're going to be doing. Okay, you're going to be, what is it? Oh, before I get to that, I have to, one more point about slopes. There's two special cases. They look like this. So if I have a horizontal line, notice I'm not going up or down at all. It's like I'm walking on a flat surface. Right? In that case, I say it has no slope. The slope is 0. We're not going up or down. Right? If I was walking on this surface, right, I wouldn't be going up or down at all. But in the opposite case, if it's a completely vertical line, just straight up and down, I don't think I could walk up that. Right? That has sort of like an infinite slope. When we say is it's undefined. It's one of the things you need to memorize, though. If this line is vertical, entirely vertical, it has an undefined slope. And if it's entirely horizontal, it has no slope. Okay, horizontal lines, no slope. Vertical lines, undefined slope. Those are the two special cases. So that's what you're going to be doing in your assignment. Basically, it tells you what to do. So let's do the first one together. Okay, it says plot the line that has an x-intercept of 6. So let's think about that. What does that mean? X-intercept of 6, intercepting the x-axis at 6. So let's put a dot there. Remember, this is my x-axis. So I'm going to put a dot right there. Okay. Now, the next one is going to be y-intercept of 3. So that means on my y-axis here, I'm going to have to hit the y-axis at the point 3. So let's put a dot there. Okay, so those are my x and y intercepts. Now I'm going to connect the dots with a line. Right, so this is a line that's constructed. Take a ruler and draw yourself a line. Put arrows on the end of it. Okay, it needs to have arrows, otherwise that's a line segment. If you put arrows, it means it goes on forever. Okay, that's a proper line. Lines go on forever. Interesting idea. Anyways, so what can we say about, what do we notice about the direction and the steepness of the line? So what we're going to do now is we're going to do the same thing. Let's look at this from the city block idea. So for me to go from the y-intercept from the first point on there, from this first point to this second point, I'm going to have to first walk to the right 6. That's going to be positive 6 to the right. And then I'm going to have to go down 3. Okay? So what can I say about the direction and the steepness of the line from this? Notice, what am I doing? Because it's going down, think of again, here's my little guy. He's walking to the right, what's he going to do? He's going to be heading down the hill. So that has a negative slope. And 6 is much larger than 3, right? I'm walking more, there's more horizontal stuff than there is vertical stuff. So that's a shallow slope. So we say it's a shallow negative slope. So that's what you're going to do for the assignment. I think there's about 12 of these. Draw the points on here, connect the dots, then make yourself a little triangle. Right? Make a little triangle. Label how much you had to go horizontally, how much you had to go vertically. And then from that information, we can say either it's going to be shallow or steep, negative or positive. So all your answers are going to be either, shallow or steep, positive or negative slope. And that's it. Okay? pretty straightforward once we get explained it well. Okay, I apologize. I know the website. There's a lot of information on the D2L site and the course, but I'm putting together these videos to try to make it easier for you. Okay, so hopefully this helps. And if you have any questions at all, just send me a message on Teams, and we'll get through this. Awesome. All right, so I'll be talking to you later, and stay safe. See you guys.